Good morning. Welcome to Kenya News Update today. For the next 12 minutes, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating political phenomena in Kenya today, the nickname Riggy for Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. What does this informal moniker reveal about his political standing, his relationship with the public, and the shifting allegiances within Kenya's political landscape? We'll explore the power of nicknames in African politics, analyze the current challenges facing the deputy president, and debate whether Riggy is a term of endearment or a sign of diminishing authority. Joining us today are political analyst Dr. Wanjiru Mwang and communications expert Mark Ota No. Let's begin. Dr. Mwang, let's start with you. In political science, what is the significance of a nickname like Riggy? A nickname, by definition, is an informal substitute for a proper name. It can be based on characteristics, a shortened form, or express affection, playfulness, or even contempt. The key is its informality. When the public or the media bestows a nickname on a figure as high as a deputy president, it creates a certain intimacy, but also a certain level of familiarity that can cut both ways. It humanizes him, makes him seem more accessible, especially to younger demographics who engage with politics through social media and memes. However, that same familiarity can erode the traditional aura of authority expected from the office. It's a double-edged sword. Mark, from a communications perspective, how has the Riggy brand been managed? Initially, it was a masterstroke. It broke through the noise. In a digital age where attention is currency, Riggy was catchy, memorable, and instantly created a brand distinct from the more formal, His Excellency the Deputy President. It suggested a modern, approachable leader. We saw it on merchandise and hashtags. It was a PR team's dream for about 18 months. But recently, the narrative has shifted. The nickname is now being used in contexts that are less about brand building and more about political analysis, often critical. The challenge now is whether the administration can control the narrative around the nickname, or if it has been fully appropriated by the public and the press for their own commentary. Let's look at the numbers. According to a recent survey by InfoTrack released just last week, public perception of the deputy president's effectiveness has seen notable shifts. When asked about his handling of specific coordination roles within the government, only 32% of respondents rated his performance as good or excellent. That's a significant figure to consider. Furthermore, when correlating nickname recognition with job approval, the data gets even more interesting. Among voters aged 18 to 35, a massive 78% recognized the nickname Riggy. However, within that same group, his approval rating sits at just 41%. This suggests a high degree of brand recognition does not automatically translate into political capital or effective governance approval. The nickname is known, but the man's work is being judged separately, and currently, that judgment appears mixed at best. Dr. Mwang, these numbers point to a potential disconnect. What's happening on the ground politically? The political terrain has become increasingly complex for the deputy president. We are seeing a gradual but noticeable trend of lawmakers, particularly from his own Mount Kenya backyard, beginning to distance themselves. This isn't about a mass exodus yet, but about calculated repositioning. The Standard Group reported last month on a growing sentiment among MPs who feel that the Riggy persona, while popular initially, hasn't been backed by consistent delivery on grassroots promises, particularly around agricultural subsidies and local development funds. There's a feeling that the style is overshadowing the substance. Furthermore, with President William Ruto now in his second year, the focus is intensely on deliverables. Allies are gauging where the power and resources truly flow, and some are making subtle recalibrations. The nickname in this context becomes a shorthand for a certain type of politics, perhaps seen as more about personality than pipeline. This leads us to a crucial debate. Is the Riggy phenomenon a net positive or a net negative for his political future? Let's hear both perspectives. Mark, argue the case for it being a positive asset, certainly. In today's crowded media landscape, cut-through is everything. Riggy achieved that. It created a relatable identity in a space where many politicians seem out of touch. This is a foundational asset that can be rebuilt upon. The high recognition, especially among youth, is a bankable political resource. The current dip in approval is a policy and communication challenge, not a branding one. The brand platform, approachable, modern, direct, is still solid. The task now is to align the substance of governance with that brand promise. If he can channel that recognition into mobilizing support for concrete projects, the nickname becomes the vehicle for his message, not the message itself. It's a tool, and tools can be repurposed for rebuilding. Dr. Mwang E, the counter-argument, please. The risk is that the nickname has already boxed him in. It created expectations of a disruptive, dynamic, almost populist force within government. When the reality of bureaucratic inertia, coalition politics, and economic constraints set in, that brand can quickly become a liability. It highlights the gap between promise and performance. Furthermore, in the more formal, elder-driven councils of Kenyan politics, a catchy nickname can sometimes be perceived as frivolous, undermining his gravitas when discussing serious state matters. The distancing by MPs is a key indicator. They are sensitive to their constituents' moods. If the Riggy brand is now associated with unmet expectations or stylistic overreach, they will quietly step back. The nickname has transitioned from an asset to a potential anchor, tying him to a particular moment in time that may have passed. To understand this dynamic better, it's useful to look at a regional comparison. Consider the political landscape in Uganda, our neighbor to the west. President Yoweri Museveni, recently re-elected for a seventh term, represents the absolute apex of formal, entrenched power. His nicknames, like Sivo or the Old Man, are used, but they operate in a completely different context, one of established, unchallenged authority built over 40 years. The recent post-election violence reported by Africanews, where 30 opposition supporters were killed and 2,000 arrested, underscores a political environment where dissent is met with force, not memes. For Uganda's youth, as The Guardian Africa highlighted, their despair stems from a future seen as locked in stagnation, where the political brand is one of permanence, not personality. The Riggy phenomenon could not exist in that context. It is inherently a product of a more open, albeit competitive and noisy, political space like Kenya's. This contrast is vital. It shows that the very existence of a playful political nickname is a sign of a certain level of political openness, but also of the intense pressure to perform within that space. The public feels empowered to bestow a nickname and then to judge the bearer of it harshly. Let's delve into some specific policy areas where this judgment is occurring. The deputy president has been tasked with coordinating the fight against illicit alcohol and drug abuse, a major issue. Initial raids and pronouncements were bold and garnered media attention, often under the Riggy banner. However, 6 months into the initiative, county commissioners report that the compliance rate among licensed establishments is only around 65%, while the seizure of illicit substances has plateaued. The narrative has shifted from Riggy's crackdown to questions about the sustainability and depth of the crackdown. Another area is intergovernmental relations. His role as a liaison between the national government and county governments, especially in the Mount Kenya region, was supposed to be a strength. Yet, data from the Council of Governors indicates that, as of the last quarter, the dispute resolution time for intergovernmental fiscal issues he was mediating increased by an average of 15 days compared to the previous year. The efficiency promised by a dynamic, nickname-branded operator isn't materializing in these key metrics. This brings us back to the core question of political capital. How much does he truly have left? Let's look at the parliamentary support. An analysis of voting patterns on bills where the deputy president took a clear, public position shows a decline in cohesion. In the first parliamentary session of the Ruto administration, bills he championed saw a 92% support rate from MPs perceived to be in his camp. In the most recent session, that figure has dropped to 74%. That's an 18-point drop in disciplined support. This isn't a rebellion, but it is a softening, a willingness by allies to occasionally break ranks. Each percentage point lost represents a lawmaker calculating that their future may not be inextricably linked to the Riggy political project. So, what's the path forward? Can the narrative be reset? Mark, from your perspective, what would a strategic communications reset look like? It requires a deliberate pivot. First, acknowledge the nickname but subordinate it to a new, substantive agenda. Less Riggy says, and more the deputy president overseeing the following deliverable. The visual branding needs to mature, fewer branded caps at rallies, more documented site visits to completed projects. He needs to generate his own metrics of success, X number of factories built, Y acres under new irrigation, and own that narrative. The communications must shift from personality to portfolio. It's a difficult transition, but necessary to regain the seriousness the office demands. Dr. Mwang E, do you agree? Is a reset possible, or are the political dynamics now beyond his control? A reset is possible, but it is exceedingly difficult. The political marketplace in Kenya is ruthless and has a short attention span. The MPs distancing themselves are doing so because they are reading the energy of their constituents and the central power system in State House. The reset cannot be just about communication. It must be about demonstrable political wins. He needs to secure and visibly deliver a major, flagship government project to his base. He needs to win a significant internal policy battle within the cabinet. The nickname will only fade as a topic if he gives people something more substantive to talk about, a tangible achievement that becomes his new identifier. Otherwise, Riggy risks becoming a historical footnote, the catchy name for a deputy presidency that promised more than it delivered. As we conclude, let's reflect on the broader lesson. The story of Riggy is a modern political parable. It shows the incredible power of a personal brand in the digital age to launch a leader into the public consciousness. But it also shows the limits of that brand. In the end, politics, especially in a demanding democracy like Kenya, is about tangible results, jobs, roads, prices, security. A nickname can get you in the door, but it won't keep you in the room if you don't deliver. The public's affection is conditional. They will playfully nickname you, Riggy, one day and critically analyze your performance the next. The 78% name recognition among youth is an opportunity, but the 41% approval within that group is a stark warning. The coming months will determine whether this chapter is remembered as a case study in brilliant political marketing or a cautionary tale about the hollow nature of style without substance. For Kenya News Update today, this has been a deep dive into the politics of a nickname. Thank you to our analysts, Dr. Wanjiru Mwang E and Mark Ota No. What are your thoughts on the Riggy phenomenon? Is it a sign of strength or weakness? Let us know in the comments below. For more in-depth analysis of Kenyan politics and society, subscribe to Kenya News Update today.